My name is Oksana Safronova, and I'm lead security systems engineer at EPAM Systems. And gaming considered to be a fun industry full of various entertainment, but at the end of the day, from cybersecurity perspective, it has its own challenges. Why is this a research? Because gaming market value and user base in general increased dramatically during the pandemic. And with this, the volume of cyber attacks on gaming increased too. Also, I'm working with a company in this industry as security analyst for some time already. That's why I need to basically understand what are the attacks and attackers and how to build a proper defense against them. This research is an overview of known attacks on gaming industry, analysis of some attack vectors and trends, and cautionary tales about how these attacks actually impacted gaming companies involved. General statistics for this research is around 50 incidents in which gaming companies was involved during the last, I guess, around 10 years. And note that I've counted only a big and proved and acknowledged incidents and breaches acknowledged by companies or by security researchers. Statistic does not include DDoS attacks, and most of the attacks won't have any technical details. And that's completely fine, because in incidents like this, companies' primary priority is to acknowledge and secure affected users. So this research will be structured based on attackers' primary motives that we can describe based on observed activity. And the first one is account spawning. So user accounts are valuable assets in this industry and the most abused one. Popular gaming platform Steam actually mentioned that they have around 77,000 of breached accounts each month. 55% of all active gamers had at least one account compromised in the past. And talking about known gaming breaches, it's hard not to mention the incidents with Sony from 2011. As on 2011, on April, Sony PlayStation network for PlayStation owners actually went offline. And after several days, Sony actually confirmed that this was caused by a massive hacker attack. They needed 3 weeks to rebuild their network and to go back online. Affected data amount was huge for that moment. It was around 77 million of PSN accounts, like accounts for the PlayStation network, and also millions of accounts for another gaming company, all owned by Sony. Also, some credit card data was stolen. It was one of the biggest and most known gaming breaches occurred in the industry. The threat, the attacker here was LOLSEC, a hacking group which was active from May to June of 2011. They had a lot of victims in different industries, including gaming. In total, they were involved in 4 gaming breaches that are known. Initial access vector here was unknown. Based on the previously known attacks by LOLSEC, this probably was an exploitation of web vulnerabilities. But Sony worked with forensic investigator to find how hackers actually breached their network, but never publicly discussed the results of this investigation. In total, the public image was damaged. PSN network was offline for 3 weeks. Sony had 171 million of losses and was fined by UK Data Protection Act. This was not the first breach in gaming industry at all. As you can see, industry had its problems like in the before and after it. And also, as you can see, the count of the compromised accounts was not like changing during the years or was not impacted by anything. At some point, just some company could have a vulnerability and the millions of accounts suddenly could be stolen, even if you don't know the name of this specific gaming company. The largest breach currently is the breach of Zynga company, 172 million accounts involved, and some millions of accounts of the other project is involved too, which means that attackers were actually deep in their infrastructure and could recover this data. In this case, actually, hackers was the one who reported on this. And as consequences, Zynga got a class action lawsuit, which was declined in court later. So no details, no consequences, nothing. And on this slide, you can see just the number of attacks that actually had some technical details that are publicly available to analyze. In most cases, the reason of those attacks, like the primary initial access vector, was a web vulnerability exploitation, and sometimes credential stuffing and or unauthorized access to cloud resources, but on the most recent incidents, I guess. And in most cases, those incidents were disclosed by companies themselves, which is good, actually. On last few years, Akamai published two different researches regarding the gaming industry and gaming in pandemic, and they confirmed that actually industry suffered an increase in credential stuffing attack and in web attack during the last, I guess, 1.5 year when we are in isolation. As bonus statistic, it's a tale about the breached forums. So forum accounts are not as critical as user accounts to the games, but in general, the obtained passwords can later be reused for credential stuffing attacks, and some users may have the same password to the forum as they have to the game itself. And this is a list of breached companies with incidents related to forums. And this is the list of initial access vectors. And in half of the cases, those were exploitation of vulnerabilities in Web Bulletin. Web Bulletin is a popular software for forum building. In conclusion, most known attack vector for pawning cases is exploitation of web vulnerabilities. The number of all attacks is dramatically increased during the pandemic, and there is no direct correlation between the count of accounts, attack vectors, and years. So anything can happen with the company based on its primary security flaws. The next motivation is malicious fun-based activity. So industry itself has a lot of talented fans who can potentially want to obtain some publicly unknown information about the game. And their goals may vary from publishing this information to the world to preserve it for themselves in private collections. But in general, incidents like this could potentially harm the industry. First known case, and probably the oldest one in my general statistic, is a case with Valve as on 2003. The source code of Half-Life 2 was published online, and it was as a result of an attack of the hacker. And in this case, we can tell what happened, because basically the hacker later published the description of how he operated. So he found the unprotected server or partner company in Valve network and uploaded the shell to publicly writable web root. He assessed the Valve's infrastructure and actually found out that the primary domain controller had a blank password. So after dumping all the password hashes, he had the keys to the kingdom. But actually the data, the source code, was leaked by someone with whom he just shared the obtained code. Later, Valve acknowledged the leak and asked community for the help, asked to find the hacker. So after some time, from anonymous source, some logs related to this hacker was submitted to Valve, and in 7 months, the hacker was actually arrested. Actually, this leak did not impact the sales of the game itself, because probably at that period of time it was not shared so publicly as it can be shared today. The next case has no known actor. It has a known actor, but no technical details, but is still important for the industry. It's Giga Leak by Nintendo. So this is the biggest breach in Nintendo's history, publicly known. From games to development tools, everything was leaked. Around 2 terabytes of data. Hacker was actually arrested after a year of investigation, I guess, but data keeps leaking. It keeps getting released, and last release was actually this year. And the last case is from Naughty Dog gaming company, which are the developers of Last of Us game. So last year, content of their cutscenes from their unreleased game was published online and have some debug information on it. So the videos with those cutscenes and plot of the game actually revealed some details of the gaming process, which were not liked by gamers, because that was not apparently it was not what they're expected, and this at some point impacted the image of the game even before its release. The theories about the possible source of those videos were different. First of all, like disgruntled employee, because those videos contained the debug data, which are like a mark of authenticity of this data. But most likely it was caused by the vulnerability discussed of one of the researchers who was not involved with this leak, but knew some details, because every game of Naughty Dog had a final patch which contained AWS key that can be paired with a secret bucket ID and reveals the content of the server. So per each game title, they have a separate bucket ID and a different key. They've tried to dump the data from older games of the company just to preserve it, but apparently for searching for the data of the materials for Last of Us 1, they discovered the data of Last of Us 2, which was not yet released. And later, someone actually compiled this and published it. And this theory later was confirmed by one of the game journalists, but we will never know what the initial vector is. But the version with AWS sounds realistic. In conclusion, industry has a lot of talented fans who could really cross the line in finding the new materials about various game titles. Information obtained by them can be hidden from the public eye or published to the most known forums. And probably there are more vulnerabilities in the wild, which are actually can be compromised by hackers, but they are not disclosed publicly, as they need a way to obtain new materials from the company. The next vector, it's the exploitation. So exploitation, it's an abuse of legit functionality of the game itself, and or compromising of the company on stages of games development, actually. The example of the first one is the case with Nintendo last year. So one day, a huge amount of users started to experience the unauthorized access attempt to their accounts. And those were like accounts with a payment information attached, because this is critical for the existence of this account. And users suddenly started to see the purchasing of in-game currency bundles from a popular free-to-play game Fortnite. What was it? It was money laundering scheme. So some games suggest players to buy in-game currency to purchase some unique or supportive items, and this will require you to attach your payment system of your choice to your gaming account. This potentially can be abused by hackers in two ways. First of all, they can create dummy accounts and attach data from stolen credit cards and purchase this in-game currency, or attacker can access the breach account and use them the same way as dummy accounts, but now they will have a legit payment option attached actually. And later they will resell those in-game currency bundles to other gamers with a discount and receive real money from those in-game currency bundles. With Nintendo, all compromised accounts had something in common. They had a login through Nintendo Network ID, which was a way to log in to older consoles of Nintendo, older generation of consoles. So all of the existing Nintendo consoles have have ability to log in through this Nintendo Network ID logins and to have a shared wallet for all of your platforms involved. And potentially someone obtains a list of the password for this specific way of logging in, because it was like a different, it should have a different password from the main Nintendo account. Nintendo says that this probably was leaked outside of them because they didn't found those accounts breached from their site. And after investigation, they found around 300,000 accounts affected by this issue. And ability to log in into Nintendo account via Nintendo Network ID was disabled completely by the company after this incident, and compromised users were refunded. The next case is more severe. It's related to APT group, which actually targets gaming industry. So Winty APT was first mentioned on 2013 by Kaspersky in the report regarding the attacks on gaming industry. Winty is the name of the malware assigned to the samples by Semantic AV. For the timeline, it looks like Winty APT started the activity around 2010 based on traces found on another investigations. And on 2011, Kaspersky found the Trojan DLL dropped on machines with updates to popular online game. Apparently, those DLL files was not meant to attack users. Those were actually for the development company, because on users' machines, it was hard to execute them actually. And as for Kaspersky, this was the first time they saw a 64-bit signed signed with the valid digital certificate binary as a malware. And apparently the digital certificate belonged to other game developer, which apparently was previously compromised by Winty. So this actually opens an understanding of what were the goals of this specific APT group. First of all, they wanted to obtain the source code of the online games to probably deploy some private servers to scam users or found vulnerabilities on these source codes, to steal digital certificates to reuse them later in attacks on the other industries or bigger targets, because they actually had lots of targets in various industries, not on the gaming. And accumulate in-game currency to later convert it into real money, like with one of the ways as I've described before. They did it by injecting malicious code into the processes on game server, which were related to generation of in-game currency in general. They had a large list of the targets which were actually post-identified by Kaspersky with the certificates that were used to sign those samples. And as I've mentioned, they had lots of targets outside of gaming industry. Thailand CERT actually released a report that summarized their activity over various businesses around. As for 2020, they are still active. They still sign in their samples with previously affected company certificates and develop new backdoors like coin miner or backdoor to modify MySQL databases to generate more in-game currency. On 2014, company Garena Online was compromised as they are a distributor of several games for the Southeast Asia region. And on all of the samples, all of the executables for those games, researchers found a remote access tool. This tool actually was dropped by compromised game launcher, and after the deployment of plugx malware, the legit launcher was dropped on the machine to hide the traces of involvement of compromised launcher. As a consequence, they had a few reports from players, and after the second attempt, they got this fixed, but no details were never provided. On 2013, game War Z were hacked and servers were shut down as game was not so popular. Later, the source code of this game confirmed to be breached. In 2018, two partner companies apparently picked up this code and tried to develop their own game based on some technologies related to those games. In total, there were like 2 separate games in the wild signed by certificates by those companies. What is about this code in general? All games included it ended up compromised. So Shadowhammer is a name of supply chain attack involving the ASUS update on 2018. ShadowPad is a name of a backdoor used on this operation. Modified version of ShadowPad was found on machines with Trojanized games from those 2 companies mentioned. ShadowPad in general is a privately sold modular malware platform. This was proven by the research recent research, like in 2021, by Sentinel-1. It's in use by several Chinese IPT because before it, researchers had an idea that those groups just sharing some malware, sharing some models between all of them, but looks like they are just buying the variants of ShadowPads with various models. With attacks on previously mentioned games, usage of ShadowPad is assigned to Barium IPT. It was identified by Microsoft. So infection of the games is similar to the case with ASUS. That's why this case is considered to be the part of Shadowhammer operation, but with different products. In general, malicious code was compiled into games executable. One of the malicious samples from the attacks was an altered part of Microsoft Visual Studio. To summarize, attackers should either had an ability to inject malicious code from the compromised machine of the developer, or Trojanized development software was downloaded and used by developer willingly. We will never know what is the correct version of events here. In general, industry's project has a large spectrum of functionalities which are actively developed to attract new players, but those functionalities can often be used by attackers and exploited, and this is hard to prevent completely. There are hacking groups that are out there which are targeting specific gaming industry and developing their tooling specifically to gain the most from this intrusion into the company's workflow. And the last vector is extortion. So it's about stealing of sensitive data with further blackmailing of affected companies. Most used and recent attack vector here is ransomware attack, but with exfiltration as an important part. Publicity of the incident is used as an advantage by attackers. On 2020, Crytek company reportedly was hit by egregor ransomware. Egregor ransomware is a ransomware as a service which used banking Trojans to deliver Cobalt Strike payload and a number of legit tools to complete the discovery of the environment, compression of the data, with further exfiltration of it. How it became public, actually, because the samples of data from Crytek were published on Egregor's website, because they used to publish some documents of the affected or materials, any materials of affected company to their website in dark web. So there were a few documents related to company and some general customers data, but also it's included, allegedly, they had a source code of Ubisoft's Watch Dogs recent game. The thing was that Crytek was a partner with Ubisoft, and hackers stated that they could access Ubisoft's network from Crytek's network, which was actually encrypted by ransomware. As consequences, they demanded Ubisoft actually to pay, because Ubisoft was a big company in this scheme in general. Ubisoft declined this, and in a month, allegedly, the source code of the game were released in public, but authenticity and existence of the code is not confirmed. The second case, also last year, is related to CD Projekt Red company. They've announced it on their Twitter. They publicly acknowledged it. They were hit by Hello Kitty ransomware. This was identified by the published ransom notes naming. Actor behind the ransomware was not like other actors in those cases, as they usually just ran ransomware and collected ransom. Their usual tactics did not include exfiltration, but looks like with this company they decided to give it a try. Ransomware doesn't bother to hide its execution or activity from affected users. It's found in visible command line windows and running like commands that can be seen in logs in general. But it doesn't make it less deadly for the environment. It currently has both Windows and Linux variants. Affected data were source code of the game, some sensitive documentation, and data of employees. And in this case, source code confirmed to exist and be completely valid by researchers because it was spread across public platforms, I guess, since day one. As consequences, attacker organized an auction to sold this data, and they stated that actually they sold it out of auction, but this all could be just a hoax to pressure the company to pay them at the end. As consequences, in 5 months, this data was on public forum, released in encrypted folders, with the group asking for 10K donation to unlock each folder. Also last year, Capcom company was compromised. In this case, we actually can gather some understanding about initial access because Capcom published all of the details of it. So it was initial access was made through compromised old VPN device, which were emergency backup in case of communication problems, which became crucial for the companies during the pandemic. The threat here was a Ragnar Locker ransomware, which utilized a VirtualBox to run itself actually and encrypting the content of the infected machine by attaching the folders from infected machine to the virtual machine on which ransomware actually is executed. Affected data, around 1 terabyte of data, from personal information of employees to resources connected to their games. Ransom was not paid. And as in previous cases, in a few weeks, all of the information were published. And I guess in a few months, Capcom published detailed investigation about how they've handled it and what data was actually compromised there. And the most recent case is related to Electronic Arts Games company, but it was not a ransomware, it was just a pure exfiltration by attackers. The initial access was actually described by hackers to one of news sources. It was a stolen authentication cookie purchased online, which provided them with access to EA Games Slack instance. In Slack, attackers contacted IT and asked for a multi-factor token for them as they've lost their phone. A token was provided, attackers could log into EA infrastructure. Affected data included the source code of the games, SDKs, and the source engine for most of the games by this company. Why this incident is different from others we've seen? Because it included source code for online competitive games. and engines in general, because those source codes most likely won't be reused based on the copyright by other companies, but possible competitor actually can analyze this code to get a general understanding of products' advantages, weaknesses, and source codes are valuable, really valuable for cheats development, which is a separate financially successful business, which is built on unauthorized development of software that using exploits in games code to alter the gaming process. As consequences, hackers tried to get money. They tried, first of all, they tried to sell the stolen data. Then they tried to extort the EA games to pay them for this data. And later, when this went nowhere, they just published it. As we can see, this is a new and quite damaging attack type for the industry. Ransomware as a service can lead to increased number of actors who will have a similar goals. And attackers can actively communicate with press about the attacks and threaten to source sensitive information to press to pressure the affected companies. And the last one is a few words about the defense tactics here. First of all, some general security practices which are valid for all companies from all industries, like continuous security monitoring, vulnerability management, penetration testing, and internal security trainings. For gaming platform itself, multi-factor authentication, captcha implementation, and fraud protection. And what about the and defense techniques that we can already see implemented by industry itself? First of all, user education on malicious tactics within platforms. So platform can compile a list of the popular scenarios, at least to make user know that, hey, this potentially can happen to you. The second is about MFA enrollment encouragement. So it's good to have MFA on your platform, but you need to make users to use it. You can make make some functionality available only with MFA, like trading, because this is really sensitive as it involves real money, and temporary promotion of the MFA with great rewards, because gaming can allow itself to provide users with some rare bonuses. And password security measures, which can be done on the site of the company, like monitoring of public leaks with unknown passwords, and integration with password checking services to acknowledge user if they even want to type a password that is already somewhere in the leaked databases. Also, at least on HackerOne, 7 big gaming companies has bug bounty programs released. So that's how actually community can contribute into the security of the game and gain something from it. In general, successful attack techniques in industry changed over the years, from just collecting of the accounts to blackmailing the whole companies. But industry's defense capabilities and user awareness changed too. So confrontation continue with evolution from both sides. Thank you for your attention. Play safe.
Am I in?
Yep.
I think so. Oksana, thank you. It's a very stylish presentation, I must admit.
Lots of
Very in
pixels.
line with the content, and yeah, it looks really cool. Okay, so thank you once again for the great talk, and we are ready to start our Q&A session with questions from our audience, both in Zoom and YouTube. Our previous experience tells me that we need to give our attendees a couple of minutes for it to sink in. Yeah, and yeah, basically type something in the chats, because virtual format adds up latency. Okay. Why am I particularly interested in this topic? I think it's enough time passed since my wild youth, and I can disclose how I actually got into cybersecurity. So me and my friends, we were known for some very interesting hacking cheats in online gaming. And yeah, that was a long time ago. It was UGP. I'm not proud of it. But, back in those days, it was quite fun because most people just cheated. Yeah, around some business logic already implemented in the game. But we tried to go down the stack and see what's going on under the hood, and maybe we could do something with it. We never got down to monetizing any of it, but it was fun, you know, having two valuable digital assets instead of one with a couple of packets sent. It was really nice. So maybe these early experimentation got me into the business after all. So I think we have some questions. If you want to ask questions aloud, right, and you are not ashamed of your voice, which you shouldn't be, please raise your hand and I will give you the virtual mic. If not, just type it in. So the first question is, what is a chance to catch an intruder physically? Any such cases, maybe? Okay, Dima, I will give you the mic if I can. Oh yeah, you already got
Can you
it.
hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my question. Hi, thanks for the presentation, very cool. And my question is, what's the chance to catch an intruder actually? I mean, physically, like a physical person. Maybe there are some cases or whatever. Thank you.
Unfortunately, I can't disclose like lots of cases, but in my opinion, it depends on the coverage of your monitoring. And investigating cases like this can actually help you to understand what you should monitor, in which components of your environment you should look closer, and potentially see if this is sometimes can lead to the further exploitation. And as I've mentioned, the intrusion can have lots of different variants and looks. It can be intrusion through the compromising of the game itself or compromising the people who worked in the gaming company.
And can you answer one more question, please? How many such incidents are connected to insiders, not some external actions, but inside the board?
Yeah.
I mean,
That
malicious.
was my follow-up. That's exactly what I wanted to ask right after you finished answering the previous question.
I stole your question. Okay.
Yeah, how many insiders are actually in? Because yeah, you know this modern trend when Logbit 2.0 just hires insiders in large consulting firms and gets into all their clients.
So in the scope of those 50 cases, no cases related to insiders. But in my opinion, there should be lots of them because those 50 cases are just the public ones. So there might be lots of attacks which are publicly completely unknown and swept under the rug by companies. I can decline it and I can just say that, hey, I know the whole statistics and the whole trends here, but the public information is the only thing I have as an analyst, like lessons learned, live action lessons learned, because no simulation can prepare you for the fact that the source code of your game is leaked, but you at least see how the company handles it and how it actually works. So outside there should be lots of internal intruders, to be honest. As well as vulnerabilities
like,
of the platform,
put in
which
it-
are hidden by.
For sure, yeah, but taking the first part of your answer, data shows that there is some potential for optimism, but I will break it. I will destroy it for you. Yeah, I
Because
totally
this-
agree. This is not a sample representative enough.
Yep.
Okay, Peter, do you want to ask your question out loud? Or I can read it for you.
Mute. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm out loud. I have to find a way to. If there is a camera available or is not.
Should
I
be.
don't want to see my fat head. Don't want to be subject, guys,
I wanna, but yeah,
Oh,
you need to
no.
promote it to panelists in order for that to happen. So please go on with the question.
Yeah, the question was what I noticed from your talk is that I see a lot of economical driven actors in the atmosphere you're working in. But do you also notice that there is interest of state actors to misuse or abuse the gaming industry's infrastructure to gain for political reasons or?
I guess Winty APT actually had some cases related to government. Not sure if I can name all of them, but yeah, they were involved with various industry. Gaming was just a step for them to gather the certificates to sign their samples, nothing more, and to collect some money for in-game currency.
Ah, okay. So then the gaming industry is a stepping stone to a wider goal instead of a goal
Sometimes,
itself.
yes.
Okay. No, thank you.
It's very interesting. Okay, any more questions? Okay. I don't see any more questions. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I think I'm not. Okay. Dima, one more question. You have the mic.
Yeah, I'd like to ask one more question. Sorry for numerous questions because the topic
No
of
problem at all.
intrusion into a game company, it's excited really because it's like a cyberpunk, not that game, but the cyberpunk.
The source code of those game was also leaked.
Gibson. Yeah, I know.
It's sexy squared, because gaming industry is sexy, hacking is sexy. It's sexy times sexy. Okay.
Well, I like to ask one more thing, the last one, I promise. And is it a case where one gaming company hire a hacker to hack another gaming company to get the technologies? I mean, to get their, what does it mean to get their source code, to get their technologies, to get their engine, to get their, I don't know, what's the technology in the game? I am not a game developer, but there should be something like that.
Okay, so no public knowledge about cases like this, and I'm not sure if they will take the risks to do it actually. But with cases like with who was the last company? Oh, with Electronic Arts games, the engine is already public. And so those attackers also can, as I've mentioned, those attackers who leak the source code, sources of game, actually can provide a great value for the potential competitors to analyze the codes. Yeah, they won't reuse it, but yeah, they can at least research it and understand how it works. So I guess sometimes they don't even need to hire a hacker. They need to wait long enough to data to be leaked. But the idea sounds exciting. Like not
so
exciting.
Probably there is a hidden market
horrible.
For this.
Like everything,
well,
every case of this is horrible for me as for defender.
Horrible.
Yep.
Ужас. Okay, any more questions, guys and girls? And nothing in Q&A, everything covered, nothing in chat, nothing in Oh, I see the question that is, I think, partially answered already. How many insiders had been caught and delivered to jail? So we don't know that.
Insiders, not
apparently.
sure. Yeah, in general, in most cases with fan activism, the only one which was not investigated, I guess, was not with Naughty Dog. In cases with Valve, hacker was caught. In cases with Nintendo, 2 hackers was caught actually, but I've included only one because some companies are taking care of their intellectual property like more than anyone, and Nintendo is one of them. They are strongly defending their intellectual property from any leakage.
However, yeah, as you properly highlighted, the source code itself, the product itself, is not very profitable to steal, right? Because time to market is so long. You have to
Yes,
put so
if
much
the game
effort
is not
besides
compatible,
developing.
yes.
Oh,
But if you
yeah,
are
for
talking
sure.
about like some popular compatible games, it's still like a great value as you can develop cheats to exploit it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just between different developers, like legitimate developers of gaming products, it's not valuable at all because it's so easy to apprehend the similarity, yeah, and file IP lawsuit. It's just not worth trying. But in order to uh, in order to harm a business of an opponent, it looks like a viable strategy.
Like one of the ransomware actors actually mentioned that if you will not pay, we will leak all of your documents to the gaming press, and they won't be pleased with it. So in general, this is like another vector is to harm the reputation by leaking the documents.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe the last question I should ask: did you do any correlation with the financial figures around these incidents, like how it actually
Not to
harmed the
be
victims?
honest.
Not.
The problem is that not all companies actually disclose this. Sometimes companies can disclose okay, we have a breach or we have an attack, but we won't disclose how it happened. We won't disclose how many financial losses we had. I
because
guess most
we can keep it a secret. We are not critical infrastructure. We basically
absolutely. So unfortunately, unfortunately, lack of data here.
Okay. So this means that they are rarely public companies and they rarely have insurance for this type
but
of
I guess this information became public in cases when there are court cases.
No, I mean public in terms of they have they are traded in the exchange. So in this case, they just have to disclose. They must, according to laws and regulations. Okay. So if they are hard, if they are large enough, we can know. If they are not, there is no way.
Yes.
Okay, the last question, I promise. Do you think that companies may implement some attacks to shift the focus to their new game? It's a really interesting hacker mentality right here. Okay, what do you think? Can they do that in order to do some marketing hype?
I don't think so, to be honest. Losses are considering how much time and resources may be spent to create this game.
Yeah.
Actual public exploitation of it doesn't sound right.
Yeah, and if you don't have good marketing around it, this won't help.
Okay. I always want to connect to the game which were compromised recently. Yeah. Main selling point.
Yeah, very logical approach. Yeah, I didn't stop play Cyberpunk when they got hacked. Really? Why? No, I'm not on PC. I don't play games on PCs because it's too much risk. But console, why not? What can they steal? Okay, but it makes perfect point. Thank you. This is a really cool question and great answer. So thank you, Oksana, once again for the great talk and the super Q&A session. We hope to see you around, and we do not remove your panelist role. So please stay and take part in our discussion.
Okay. Thank
And
you for having me.
Yeah, thanks.